What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. All right, let's talk a few minutes of Nuggets before we get out of here tonight. So I want to talk about two concepts, the idea of inverted spacing, and then I want to talk a little bit about the Nuggets on the defensive end of the floor. So I was amazed at how easily the Nuggets were picking apart the Pistons in this game by just having Jokic bring the ball up the floor and, dribble up to the elbow or the top of the key kind of extended out above the break. And then they would just have some of their guys run off ball action. And Jokic was just making a read as those guys were either slipping out of a screen or the Pistons would botch a screen and put two on the ball on accident, whatever it was that they would do. Jokic would make an easy little over-the-top pass. And there's a reason why that's so open for Denver. There are a lot of teams that run off-ball action, but most of the teams that run off-ball action are not using their center as that type of high-level passing fulcrum to where, one, he can make all the reads, but two, he also is capable of being a scoring threat to where you have to press up on him, right? When you have to press up on Jokic, where's the big? He's on Jokic. So there's a lot of space underneath the basket for guys to get openings slipping out of those actions. And the other part of it is this is where continuity comes to the surface for Denver. MPJ's been playing in this system forever. Jamal Murray's been playing in this system forever. Aaron Gordon's been playing in this system forever. Christian Brown's been playing in this system for a few years now. These guys have a lot of reps in this system. So they just know what to do. If I set a back screen and Jamal Murray cuts through off of my back screen, but his defender is pinned on my top side, I just wait for Jamal to cut through and then I kind of push off that guy and I know that the passing angle's right there because he's on my top side. I've got an easy opportunity behind me to get to the rim, right? They're not switching and he's kind of staying glued up. I'm just going to curl around it. I have an opportunity to attack that way, or I can come off of Jokic and look to score. They scored a ton on cuts in this game, 19 points off cuts. It was very similar to the Pacers game or the Portland game a few weeks back where they just picked them apart with off-ball action with Jokic operating as that passing fulcrum. It actually reminds me a little bit of the Golden State Warriors when they were in their peak there in the mid 2010s because they played such a unique style that in the regular season context especially, but even in playoffs in the beginning of series as teams had to adjust, they would do a lot of damage to teams just because it'd be like, oh, I'm used to playing all these normal NBA teams. Now I'm playing Golden State and I'm being run through this blender of all of this action as I'm chasing Steph and Clay around and Draymond's throwing fake dribble handoffs. And if we blitz, they're just so good at executing these 4-on-3s. They would just pick teams apart like that, right? That's a similar effect that Denver can have on teams to where they just have such a unique play style. Actually, I think Tyrese Halliburton, if I remember correctly, I saw a social media clip of Tyrese Halliburton making a mention of this himself. Talking about his experience in defending some of the stuff that he's seen online about people saying all the teams in the NBA play the same. No, they don't. And I agree. But that's part of the disadvantage that Denver presents to teams is they just play such a unique style that it can kind of catch teams off guard if they're not used to it, right? I just thought it was really interesting watching the Pistons games. They got, again, a very convincing win against a Pistons team that had been kicking everybody's butt for a while. By the way, Jamal Murray was amazing in that game. I want to shout out Zeke Naji too. Zeke Naji had a ridiculous defensive set of plays in the first half. He had a dig down play where he dug down on a drive and closed out to Tim Hardaway Jr. and blocked him at the 3-point line. He met Asar Thompson at the rim in transition and blocked him. He had another block on a rear view contest of Tim Hardaway Jr. where he chased him over the top of a screen. He defended Tobias Harris well on a post-up. He did a lot of good work on Cade Cunningham in the second half where he's just absorbing contact and just making him feel like he was playing in a crowd. I thought Zeke was fantastic. Big win for the Nuggets to bounce back from that Bucks game. But I do want to talk a little bit about the defense because they got picked apart at stretches in the Bucks game and they really got picked apart in the Lakers game. And there's this consistent issue that's risen to the surface that I've seen, which is the Nuggets are getting picked apart in rotation. Now, As we talked about after the Nuggets game, there's a certain amount of existing in rotation for Denver that they can't avoid. Basically, because how in the world are you going to be able to defend with Nikola Jokic in space? You can't. If you have him switch ball screens, you're asking him to guard on the perimeter. That's not going to work. He's not a good enough rim protector to run deep drop. So you're kind of limited in terms of defensive scheme for Denver with Jokic at the level in ball screens. But they've been getting killed there. So how do the Nuggets get to the point where they can defend at a level that is high enough to win the championship within the concept of that defensive scheme? And there are two elements that I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive in today. First, this is on Jokic. When he is at the level, he has to be much, much, much more active with his hands. For the record, against Detroit, I thought he had a lot more quality possessions like that. Early in the game, met Cade up at the level, got a deflection as he was trying to gather his dribble. There was another one where he got up on the level against Cade and applied good ball pressure, and Cade kind of panicked and rifled a pass out of bounds through the baseline. The reason why being active at the level is so important with Jokic's hands is because being in rotation is hard. One of the things you can do to make existing in rotation easier is to disrupt the first pass. If you get up to the level and the first pass is just easily rifled across the court or easily dropped off to the roll man, now you're existing in rotation and you're dead to rights because every closeout is like a 15, 20-foot closeout and you're just behind the eight ball, so to speak. But if you apply a little pressure and you either get a little bit of a deflection or you force that pass to be off target a little bit or you force that pass to go up in the air for a while before it gets to where it needs to go, all of a sudden the first rotation has a head start because the ball getting from point A to point B, whether that's the roll man or the weak side, the ball getting to that point is now delayed. And if it's delayed by a split second, that split second can be what it takes for you to make that first rotation. And then from there, you have to be as sharp as possible with your rotations on the backside. Denver's not been good with their rotations for the most part this season. If you can do a lot to make shooters shoot poorly by making them feel rushed. And you can make them feel rushed by being sharper with your closeouts. Again, the openings are going to be there. They're baked into the coverage. You're bringing Jokic up to the level. That's unavoidable. But you can be more prepared for it on the back end. And I think that that's going to be a non-negotiable for the Nuggets for them to get to where they need to go. They need Jokic to be more active with his hands at the level, and they need their weak side rotations to be substantially sharper as they try to contain these teams. All right, guys, that is all I have for tonight. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting me and supporting the show. We will be back. I'm recording another episode on Sunday night before I go out of town next week. That'll be released on Monday morning. That'll break down a bunch of games from Sunday. I'm also pre-recording a mailbag that will most likely be airing on Tuesday. So that's why we're doing the mailbag on Tuesday instead of Friday this week. But again, as always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting me and supporting the show. And I will see you guys next time.